What's up, everybody? This is Talkative Carl back again for another Christmas movie spoiler review. And today we talk about one of the biggest ones, Hard Die, or Die Hard. I'm sorry, Hard Die. Either way, but the Hard Die on Die Hard. I mean, I know a lot of people probably said a lot about this movie at this point, and yes, obviously this movie is one of the greatest movies ever made, and now on top of that, it's one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made. And I literally just found out. It's like mind blown. The wife who played John McClane's the one who played John McClane's wife is the aunt of Macaulay Culkin, who also starred in one of the other greatest Christmas movies ever, Home Alone. And it just like it blew my mind. I literally just found out today because it's like I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's like I like to say like I probably already knew that and read it somewhere years ago, but it's just not in my recesses of my mind. So as it stands, it's new to me. But yeah, I just wrapped up watching Die Hard 1 and 2, so I'll be doing uh, two separate videos back to back for those. So yeah, it's hard to find any kind of negative thing to say. This is like a polar opposite to like when I reviewed uh like I don't know, Mr. Glass movie or The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's like, where I had to pick out the good stuff for the most part, at the same time acknowledging the bad stuff. This one, polar opposite. I'm, having a tough time trying to pick out any negatives. But, if there are that I mentioned in this video, they're pretty much nitpicks, bare minimum. But this is a nearly perfect movie. But anyway, we begin with like John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, coming into the LA airport, LAX, and being picked up by Argyle, limo driver for the Nakatomi Plaza. Well, at least Nakatomi Plaza hired the limo service, and Argyle picked him up. And like the banter between Argyle and McClane is just like very smooth and just like charismatic. And John McClane is just like an everyday man kind of cop. Prior to this, Bruce Willis played like I guess, little comedies here and there, but this is like after this he became like an action star through and through moving forward. And this is like the early years of Bruce Willis when he actually gave a damn, instead of like not saying like getting up in age, but it's like in later in like movies like Red or like Cop Out, where he's just like muddling through kind of situation. This is a time when he loved the material and he gave his all. And like, the way he played John McClane is not like Schwarzenegger or Sly Stallone, where it's like, Jack, all action, no nonsense, guns blazing. This is like your dad being an action star kind of situation. And he's just like, he's a New York cop. He's like, sit up in front. He's, not used to, riding in limos. So he sits up front, with Argyle and explaining about like his wife, or just separated wife, got a job in LA. They apparently, because you'll later see like an argument between him and Holly, his wife, and you can tell by the great writing where it's like just a few snippets of dialogue, you get the story or history between him and Holly. Whereas like, a few months ago. She got his big old job. He wasn't as supportive as he should have been for his wife, so he didn't bother to move with her. With her and their kids, he figured like because like as Argyle stated, because you kind of like as John mentions, like you're pretty sharp, Argyle. It's like, well, you know, so you figure like it wasn't gonna work out. It's gonna be crawling back to you anyway. So why pack kind of situation. So yeah, you can tell by how John's mindset and like just that, as Hollywood put it later, is that he has like this straightforward determination kind of situation, and like when you're in a relationship with somebody, because there's certain things you like about a person that can also get on your nerves. Like you deal with somebody like John McClane, he's a very straightforward, determined person, and you think that's very charming. But it also is, on the flip side, is very stubborn, and it's like he's unwavering, or just like refuse to like, give a little kind of situation. And this kind of obviously kind of drove a wedge between their relationship. So I don't really like Argyle in this. It's like you don't see that many like, well, we got Uber drivers and Lyft drivers now, but like during that time when you got like when people utilizing taxis and or even limo services, you rarely see like a person in that position like Argyle, who's mentioning to John, look, I want to stick around for a little bit. Yeah, if you manage to score, like give me a call on the thing, and then, give me a call on the limo phone, and I'll take it where. Give me a call on the limo phone, then like it's all good. But if not, you come back down here, I'll take you wherever you need to go. It was like, that's cool. Like, of course, it's a limo service. Like, he's getting paid no matter what. Unlike most drivers right now, they getting like gouged out the yin yang if you let the driver wait too long. But and man, like the technology is like it was like ahead of its time. Like when you see that touch screen, they had like a touch screen that we didn't know was going to be actually be a thing, because is a Japanese company. They usually are ahead of us, by a handful of years. When you see like a touch screen on the monitor and he's just touching like a letter just to get the last name of the person he's looking for, and it's like, wow, it's like just like when I reviewed Batman Forever with the whole Enigma Tech box and like and all its components and stuff like that. Sometimes these movies are ahead of its time, man. It's like, and then you got like James Bond with these little wrist communicators and stuff like that, or like the Power Rangers with their wrist communicators. We actually got watches that can actually do something like that. It's pretty wild. So he goes up to the party, then he meets, you can tell, this movie came out in 1988. I believe it's 1988. Yeah, July 15, 1988. Just a couple of months after my birth when this movie came out. And you could tell it was like, straight up the 80s when you have this guy named Ellis who's doing cocaine he's doing cocaine in Holly's office, and it's like, it's weird. It's, he meets up with Holly again, and you can tell how, like, I mean, unfortunately, if you pay attention to the Die Hard franchise over the years, obviously their relationship, went nowhere. Or at least kind of went kaput completely. And just a detailed note right here and now. Eventually I will go into like Die Hard 3, which is personally my second favorite Die Hard movie behind the first one. And Die Hard 2 would be like the third favorite Die Hard. But they should have stopped after 4, personally, because like you can see like where the turn as far as quality, you know, uh, for this franchise had went. So they should have stopped after that point. Like, you're pushing your luck. Anyway, uh, you see Holly, like, she still's like, care for John. They haven't seen each other for months, and it'll be like, they want to spend. She tried to reach out to him emotionally, like let her guard down, reach out. It's like, you know, you don't have to stay with your, retired captain's house. I mean, you could, just bunk up with me, and the kids would certainly, love to see you. And then he had to make a boneheaded move by bringing up. I mean, every guy has probably been in this position where they bring up, something like, you know, like, as he put it, immature uh, subject, where like he bring up an old fight, or at least it led to bringing up an old fight. But when he noticed how like she didn't keep her married name, she went back to Gennaro, her maiden name. So that kind of put him in a little tiff. So that leading to a massive argument, and it's like, you tell how John is, kind of man he is, just by that moment, and was and then as soon as he made that, brought all that up, Holly's guard goes right back up, and it was like, very dumb move. But then again, we all been in that position. Like, I certainly had made boneheaded, bringing up boneheaded topics that you outside looking in, better than to bring it up, because like, obviously she won't like it. But guys can be boneheaded sometimes. So she gets back into the party. Then we get one of the greatest movie villains of all time, Hans Gruber, played by the late Alan Rickman. And it's like, I mean, it's not just a great villain. It's one of the first few movies I think Alan Rickman did. Honestly, I can't recall. Because I'm pretty sure you've just been doing plays for the most part. Where's freaking filmography? Yeah. Prior to this, he played mostly in plays. And this was his first feature film. And boy, did he hit the ground running. Because you're talking about, like, I'm pretty sure there's other, villain, actors who played in a big major roles, more specifically maybe villains for the first time out, and did very well. But I can't, I mean, he's like the number one, he's like the GOAT as far as like in anybody's memory of a list of people who just nails a role right out the gate in a big blockbuster film. And man, he played that role so smoothly. And the fact that he had to play, he's a British actor who who's doing like a German accent and German dialogue, as well as also you can see him slip into an American accent trying to fake out John McClane in another scene. So you got a British actor doing a German voice doing an American voice, and he slips into those accents so seamlessly, and it is a testament to his skill. And there's a handful of actors who can do that, but like, he's one of the few that people bring up as far as like that level of talent. And I mean, it's amazing. Like it's like he just walked up in there. And it's like, I'm here to awesome your movie, and and then Alan Rickman had that kind of dialogue. I mean, like that kind of that voice that it's kind of like the way like almost like Morgan Freeman. It's like very distinct. Like like what is it that you say? Oh yeah, yippee motherfucker. And it's just like he's got it's just like his voice is just like very amazing. And like even in like the Harry Potter films, he just so good just playing like just like a snively individual. So him, and then it's like it was a funny moment when like his henchman come walking in. That was like the guy, the nerdy black guy, you know, what was it, like a Theo or something like that. Uh, yeah, the nerdy black guy Theo. He uh comes in with one of the other German guys, and he talking about like this basketball play, So he win the game winning basket and all this stuff, and then it's like blam, shoots the security guy at front desk, and enough to hit like. It'd be funny if he just continued about the basketball discussion, but it's like they taking over. They got the hostages. John McClane obviously slips away because he's still in the room. By the way, when I'm watching this, I keep forgetting because when I took my vacation to Vegas, and it's like I did not do the Die Hard thing when like John was on that plane, that weirdo guy mentions about like making fists with your toes when you when you get to your destination, and you put your bare feet on the carpet and make fists with your toes. I never did that. That never comes to mind every time like I go somewhere. And I don't even know if that does anything. If anybody ever done that before, please let me know, because I just I don't know, is that even like supposed to do anything, but to Bruce, to John McClane, it seems like it does something, like kind of relaxes him or something, I guess. But now he's pretty much like scurrying about through ventilation staffs and other parts of the building that hasn't finished renovating yet. And he kills one terrorist, takes his gear. He's barefoot most of the time. And he takes his gear and walkie-talkie, and he's trying to, get a hold of the police. Of course, all right, here's a nitpick that comes to mind. Using a radio, and there's a bandwidth, at least like I was gonna say bandwidth, that they all on the same wavelength, and it's like you're trying to reach out to police to get help, knowing full well. Maybe it's just like he doesn't know like a certain frequency to get to a particular wavelength for the police, but it's like you don't even look like you even attempted that. You can say he's a cop, so you should know how this kind of thing work, but it's like I don't know. Do you want to run the risk of having like these guys listening on what you're trying to get done, because they can easily track you? And so he reached out to Dispatch, who gets a hold of Reginald Vell Johnson's character, Sergeant Al Powell. And of course, this is like, Carl Winslow, Family Matters guy. He does a fair share of cop stuff, like just like cop on a beat kind of stuff. And there's like a funny moment when you see like the cashier at the gas station commented on all the Twinkies and other stuff that he's buying. It's like, it's, even though like dude doesn't look like a picture of health himself, but the fact that he had to point out, like, it's like, yeah, that's all. It's like it's for my wife, sure. Just a judge. It's just a judgmental tone from the cashier, like, sure, buddy. It's like you didn't even bother throwing like a carrot or something like that. You just like went all out. You decided to go ham on the pastries, uh, like all the Twinkies and stuff like that. Like, wow. And I like my fair share of Twinkies myself, but it's like, dude, like he looked like he took the whole damn shelf. Anyway, so he goes to the plaza to check things out. Meanwhile, he's trying to get information from Nakatomi about getting the codes to open up the vault that's holding all these bearer bonds that he's trying to get hold of. Well, in the meantime, trying to fake like they're being terrorists, but using like the terrorist angle to set up machinations to get these bearer bonds. And of course, Nakatomi not giving it to them. He gets shot. So now Holly's left in charge. Everybody's looking at her because like second in command kind of situation. Al gets there. He doesn't want to be there. It's Christmas Eve already. He doesn't want to be there. So he half-asks it, with the looking around. Then he just leaves. Then John tosses a body out the window, landing on his car. You get the one of the famous lines in movie history: "Welcome to the party, pal." And so, now SWAT and everybody else is, converging on Nakatomi at this point. And Al's in communication with John, but he's going by Roy just to keep his name, his real name away from the terrorists so they won't end up finding Holly. Which kudos to Holly, because she been around, John long enough to know how, like, I'm not going to be used as any kind of collateral, like, kind of things. Like, they working together while even being together kind of situation. They on the same wavelength, because you want, like, 9 times out of 10, you want somebody who can, like, meet you on your same path kind of situation. Like, you can see why she would end up with John. Just the fact that she stood up to, like, Hans, it's like, making demands, like, there's a pregnant, I like to make the request. Who put you in charge? What idiot put you in charge? You did, when you killed my boss. Not only I passed this up, but everybody's looking at me. We got a pregnant woman here. Don't worry, she's not due for a couple of weeks, but it would be nice to have like a sofa and everything like that, and getting trips to the bathroom. And it's like, this is what makes Hans one of the best villains, because he's not like the Joker where he's just out for chaos. He's charming. Like, he can be ruthless, but he's charming and he's understanding. It's like, he's not like a monster or anything like that. And you'll see that in his brother in the third film, which I cannot wait to get to eventually. Whereas like he's agreeable. It's like, I'm not a complete monster. You got a pregnant woman. It's like, okay, we don't want to like add to the drama that's already here. So as long as we keep like the hostages calm and out of our hair, we can concentrate on doing our business. So making sure like they get bathrooms, and then making sure like that pregnant woman gets comfy, so that way there's no added stress. So he's a great villain, one of the best villains in movie history. I think he's easily like he should be easily in the top 5 or 10 at the most of best movie villains ever. If not, maybe I think the Joker might be number 1. But I think Hans is way, 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 way up there as far as like top movie villains of all time, honestly. But of course, when you get the classic, when John kills one of the guys, marks his sweater, now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho. They even there's so many like stuff referencing that move, like what's on the top of my head right now is the Deadpool game that I played on my YouTube channel. Follow me on my YouTube channel and other various links in the description below if you want to, especially check out my YouTube channel as I have the complete walkthrough of the Deadpool game. And one, there's like a few times where Deadpool makes Die Hard reference, whereas when I utilize one of his machine guns, he says the line, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho," and it's like it's permeated the culture to the point where you can easily make reference to it, and you're talking about Die Hard. So now it's like one of the henchmen is the brother to that guy. Now he's like out for blood, and he's like frustrated, and like they gotta stick to the business at hand before he can deal with anything with John. And that's where you get like when he freaking out one moment, you see Holly's expression like, only John can drive someone that crazy. And as I said before, the thing you can like about a person is also the thing that can get on your nerves about that person, the flip effect. So she understood, that level of anger. So, well, like you get like these. I believe the principal in the Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also like one of the police captains that it gets into it with Al, because Al's trying to keep he's like the super supportive friend for John McClane that I think everybody will want Al in their corner, where he's keeping John focused and calm, and like always have his back, and and then he's keeping his back on the outside of things when like that guy's getting into it with Al, and it's like you see later the FBI agents come into play, and it's like between the captain and the FBI agents, and then compare it to Al, the person who wants the least amount of glory is getting things done, while the people who wants the most amount of glory is completely incompetent. Where you got the captain who's like, straightening himself up and trying to like, oh, the FBI's here, and it's like I don't know how police. I doubt police were like this in the 80s. This is movies, obviously, but like, wow, it's like, all gory hounds. And then you got these asshole FBI agents, FBI agent Johnson and Johnson, and then like the complete like, even more dickish way where like one of the agents mentions about how like once they get in the helicopter to try to like attack terrorists on the roof, they are completely callous to the fact about how like, so we lose a few hostages, as long as we get those bastards. It's like, I was like, wow, it's like not much change. I mean, not like the cops really go out the way to like kill any bad guys and damn any hostages who gets in the way. They aren't like that. But it's like, just like, and then like Al mentions about how he's on desk duty because he accidentally shot a kid who he thought was holding a gun. Now, he did a responsible thing of getting himself off the street. I'm pretty sure he should have gotten some psychological help after that moment. But like I said, like not much changed since the 80s as far as like how cops probably would have been back then and up till now. But and this is LA, mind you, like since Rodney King, they've been rampant with like corruption in the police system. So now more terrorists are trying to trying to find John, and like you see John like just kicking ass and just he's going through the ringer. It's kind of like Netflix's Daredevil, where it's like when like Matt's going through the shit, you see him getting beat the hell, and the bruises and the healing process lasts for a couple of episodes. Like it's not like he going through the shit one episode, then the next episode he's like all together. John is like that, where it's like he's going through the ringer. He's not like the way action movies around that time were. It's like that's why it made it so different from like something like Rambo, or like Commando. It's like it's not like he can shoot everything and everything blows up and people just die and he got endless amount of ammo kind of situation. It's not like that. This is like, I want to say gritty, but it's like it played to some level of normalcy or realism, and it's action, but it's not like over the top action, and that's what made it so awesome. And it's like John takes down more terrorists and everything like that. And pretty soon, like when the cops are trying to storm the building with SWAT teams and bringing in like this big old tank, Hans is already prepared for this. He anticipated all these kind of moves that officers would probably do. So he has these little missile things where he's shooting at this armored tank thing, and John, who took some C4 off a previous dead terrorist, threw it down the elevator shaft right at the level where these guys were, and blow up parts of that level, killing them to stop them from hammering away at these officers. So when Hans went out to look for the rest of the bonds that they will need, that's when he does that fake out with John, and then of course you see the scene where John hands him a gun but it's empty, and as soon as he reveals himself and tries to shoot John, gun is empty. But then the other guys come in, and Hans tells one of the brother to shoot the glass. He says it in German, but then that's one weird moment. If I nitpick anything, this is another nitpick. He looks at Hans confused. It's like, you're German too. You should know what he's saying. The fact that Hans had to go into American language just to tell him to shoot the glass, for him to get what he's coming, that part was weird. That if there's any other nitpick, that's another nitpick. It's like, if I'm I'm with my buddy and he's telling me in English to do something, and I'm looking at him confused, you shouldn't go to Spanish for me to get it. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? Even if I can understand Spanish fluently, you get my meaning. It's like, the first time should be, especially if it's in your native language, the first time should be automatic. You should get it. So they shoot the glass, and of course, John is barefoot. He can't find no right pair of shoes to take off terrorists for some reason, because they all got dainty little feet. And so he's running through all his broken shards of glass, and to this day, I cannot look at it directly where he's picking glass shards from his feet. And it's like I said, it's look, this is not Schwarzenegger here. He can just, plow right through feet and have it be nothing. Plow through feet. Plow through glass and have it be nothing for his feet. This is actually he's, John's going through shit. And it's at this point in the movie where John's actually is getting to him now, where he's not getting any support from the police, and they're not listening to him except for Al. And these terrorist guys are getting him boxed in, and he's worrying about Holly, and he's don't at this point he doesn't think he's gonna make it out of this whole entire situation alive because he's completely outnumbered and with no support. And like I said, Al was the great emotional support, and it's like you feel for John at this point. And I'm pretty sure people at that time when they saw this in the theater, they probably all was like, like worried, like for this guy, because I don't even think they anticipated this movie to have sequels. It's usually like one and done action films. It's hard for me to remember my thoughts and feelings were when I first saw this movie on TV when I was a little kid, because it was already on cable network at that time when I was cognizant of movies and TV where I can absorb what I'm watching. But I remember just enjoying the action film, without any like the deep hidden stuff, the meaning behind anything like that. But he managed to get reinvigorated thanks to Al, and so he presses on. And then even before all this, Ellis tried to step up and just a douchey, cokehead way. But to his credit, because I think I like him more, and at least kudos to him for the fact that he managed to at least step up and try to do the right thing. Try to handle things simple and try to save everybody. Like unlike the police captain and the FBI agents who are completely incompetent and just a glory hounds or whatever. At least Ellis, even though it didn't end well for Ellis, at least despite it being, because when I was a kid, I do remember it still being like a stupid idea, and it was a stupid thing for him to do. I think he can be so slick and uses business savvy to charm the pants off these terrorist guys. Obviously, it's not going to bode well for him, but the fact that he played it smart by, partly stupid, partly smart. The stupid part was even bringing up the fact that what John's real name is to these guys. But the smart thing was not letting on that him and Holly are a thing, so Holly won't be captured or killed. So he's like, relax. I'm telling you, you're an old buddy of mine. So it's like, that way, at least it kept Holly from being put in danger. But still, it didn't end well for him. And the fact that when he got shot, when he failed to try to get John to reveal himself, because John wasn't going to surrender, and this is when John was really, led him to be that distraught, because he's like, he let a man die, but he knew it was the right thing to do because, it was his own fault. He put himself in that position anyway, and he put John in that position anyway. But John still felt bad because he wanted to save that guy, but he that both, as Al mentions, they were both would ended up killed regardless. But it was a shot, a little bit after that moment where it's like I don't know how many times I've seen this movie, but it wasn't until at least a year or so ago when I noticed at the shot where it's the camera pans over to the back of Ellis's head, and you see the gaping hole in the back of his skull, and it looks straight out. You can look straight through it and see Hans as the camera's still turning. And I don't know if I ever noticed that until a year ago when I rewatched it for Christmas, and it's wow, it's I've seen this hundreds of times. You never, maybe not hundreds of times, but I've seen it plenty of times and never noticed that. And that was great cinematography, great direction. And so now, later on when Hans getting all these when they trying to sending all the rest of his guys out to find John, John kills more of them, he seemingly kills the brother, uh, and so now that like the FBI agents try to like, because he relied on his FBI agents to shut off the uh, power in order to release the final lock to the vault. And you hear the "Ode to Joy" thing. I think that was one of like highlights for a lot of people when they finally got that vault open, and you hear that "Ode to Joy." And it's weird that even to this day, I kind of feel happy that they got that stupid thing open. And maybe it's because of the "Ode to Joy" song that's kind of give it like a very triumphant moment kind of situation, so you feel happy. But then, because of the slimy news reporter, like I need to touch on. Sounds weird when I say touch on him. I need to bring him up briefly because he gets socked in the jaw at the end of the film for like putting her and her kids potentially in danger. But he finds out about the Nakatomi Plaza incident first. He goes there, try to get like some interviews and shots and everything like that, but then figures out about Holly's kids and goes to her residence to try to interview her children without their parents' consent, and threaten INS on the maid or a caretaker that's looking after everything. He's like a whole nother level of creep. But because of him, Hans figured out that Holly is John John McClane's wife. Now, of course, when she first interacted with Hans, she says like, "Oh, my name is Gennaro, Miss Gennaro," because you can tell like how cool Holly is. The fact that she knew she wasn't going, like, she knew what the situation was, and she wasn't about to be used as leverage to get John out. So he's kind of like a smart play to like, it turned out to be a good thing that she, because as he mentions, like, working in like a Japanese kind of company, I don't know if it's because they just don't look favorably upon like married women or whatever like that, which kind of sparked the argument in the first place between her and John. But it turned out to be like one of the best things in the world. Like, now her name is Gennaro, then Hans won't look twice. But because of that reporter, now he's acknowledging, okay, I got leverage. So the rest of the hostages goes to the roof. He plans to blow on the roof to offer a distraction while they get the rest of the bearer bonds to eventually make their escape. John get the hostages off the roof, kill more terrorists, and when the roof blows, it gets the FBI agents caught up in there when they're trying to hover over the roof with their helicopters. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but then we get the final confrontation between Hans and McClane, and you get that little smooth. As a kid, I thought that was like a smooth idea where you got like a gun taped to his back, and he's like pretending to be like surrendering, and then just takes it off, and then like just shoots the last terrorist and Hans. And of course Hans is like about to fall out the building, and then hold on to Holly's wristwatch or Rolex. And this is like behind the scenes kind of information where I think I found out about this kind of thing at least 5 years ago, but it's pretty common for a lot of movie buffs. But when Hans is about to fall, Alan Rickman was told by the director they're gonna let him fall on a count of 3. Now, just to get the authentic reaction to falling, they let him go after 1, which that little shocked expression is him, like, it was like a real expression of like shock and awe of just being just let go. And then like it was like a smart decision, one of the smartest decisions in directorial history, in my opinion. Just just to get that realistic feeling from an actor, because I don't think it would ever in a parallel universe. I don't if like a different decision was made and he actually let him go on 3, despite Alan Rickman being one of the greatest actors we had. I don't think he would have sold that if they actually let him go on 3. It probably would have been good, but not as great as what we got. And so the hostages are released. John and Holly leaves, and then he meets Al for the first time, and then of course that last terrorist, the brother that you thought was dead, he tries to come out and guns blazing, but Al takes that final shot of the action film and takes that final guy out. So and then Argyle, cool Argyle, knocks out that black nerd dude as he's trying to get like the car ready for their escape. So the movie ends as Argyle drives off with Holly and John as like the debris falls down like snow, and you hear Let It Snow play as the credits roll. Man, like I said, it's like very little. It's like what I brought, and the another nitpick about that slimy reporter when he's threatened that INS on that caretaker, that wouldn't fly. But of course, maybe it's the 80s. They probably would have flied more than it would have now. Given like certain more understanding that we have now than we did back in the 80s. But honestly, that wouldn't have fly. But they probably still wouldn't have fly back then. But given the fact there's certain racist crap going on even still in the late 80s into the early 90s, of course there was still fear from certain illegal immigrants and stuff like that. So it's like, but then again, she should have been on like a work visa. So I don't know if Holly just hired her without making sure she had like a work visa, so that way that threat he made wouldn't have played out. That's the thing. But like I said, that's a nitpick. But I was just figuring, like, I don't think like someone like Holly, who worked with like an officer, would have put her maid in that kind of predicament without some kind of work visa, so that way she can do her job and helping take care of her kids when she's not home, and run the risk of INS deporting her back to Mexico. I just, like I said, that's a nitpick. Thought that was weird. Probably wouldn't have flied if she had the proper papers, so that way that threat wouldn't have worked. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's still one of the greatest movies ever made, honestly. And a couple of years back, and I still remember, it was like a few days before John Wick 2 came out, when I went to this bar party thing downtown Chicago. It was like a Harry Potter themed kind of bar, and I met up with a couple of women there, and one of the girls that like I was like getting really cozy with, like she mentions about, like, I don't know how they even brought that up, because when she just mentions about how, like, Die Hard, she said like, oh, Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie, and I just gave her like a hug, and it's like just nuzzled my head against her, because I thought that was like the hottest thing a woman has ever said. And it's like, it's weird. It's like, it's weird things that kind of like that. It kind of get your motor running, because like most women don't say that. At least maybe more so now than they did back then. But it's like, that was that was extremely hot. It was like, just like, yeah, it was like, Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie. Like, oh hell yeah. But yeah, I think it's like, I think everybody for the longest time have at least in a good several to 10 years at the most had in full agreement that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and it hits all the beats of a Christmas movie. And in a few minutes, want to review Die Hard 2. I think that's an underrated Christmas movie as well as an underrated Die Hard movie. I don't think a lot of people give Die Hard 2 that much love, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So let me know what your thoughts about Die Hard. Uh, you know, it's a dumb question. Do you still think it's the greatest movie ever made? Or you probably know the answer. It's pretty much a rhetorical question to a certain level. But I'm curious your thoughts. Is there anything in this movie that did not play out with you that you can think of possibly? But did you watch Die Hard recently? Do you watch it every year? Is like your tradition? I'm curious to know. And I will see you guys later on for more later in a few minutes for Die Hard 2. So, like I said, follow me in the links in the description. If you want to see me play more video games and do more reviews and stuff like that, you can definitely chat with me. I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. And definitely check out my Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review that I just did yesterday. It's up right now. And yeah. I hope it blew your mind if you watched it already, because it definitely blew my mind. Easily as it stands, I can easily say it's one of my not only one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. It can easily be up there as far as my one of my favorite movies ever made, honestly. But I will see you guys soon. Peace.